Princess Mary was born on 25th April 1897 at York Cottage, Sandringham, the only daughter of the future King George V and Queen Mary. Princess Victoria Alexandra Alice Mary, known to her family simply as Mary, was born on April 25, 1897, in the modest yet comfortably appointed York Cottage on the sprawling Sandringham estate. Though not born in a palace of marble halls or vast ceremonial chambers, her arrival was nonetheless a matter of immense dynastic importance. She was the third child and, crucially, the only daughter of George, Duke of York, and his formidable wife, Mary of Teck. From the moment of her first breath, Princess Mary's life was bound by the heavy chains of royal expectation, her fate inextricably intertwined with the shifting fortunes of the British Empire. Her world was one of nursery maids, governesses, and carefully orchestrated family appearances at Balmoral, Windsor, and Sandringham. Lessons in history, languages, and court etiquette filled her days, and like all royal children of the era, her emotional needs were often secondary to the demands of duty. Yet, amidst this rigid formality, it was her bond with her mother, Queen Mary, that proved most significant. Queen Mary, herself a product of relentless Victorian discipline, was famed for her unyielding devotion to tradition, her meticulous attention to protocol, and a near obsession with the image of the monarchy. She was not known for warmth or sentimentality, and yet, within the austere confines of her maternal affections, it was said that little Princess Mary possessed a singular ability to soften her mother's formidable exterior. Though Queen Mary's relationship with her sons was often marked by distance and formality, it was the presence of her only daughter that could elicit rare moments of tenderness. Mary was a fluent French and German speaker with a lifelong love of horses. In fact, as a child, she was something of a tomboy. The New York Times later called her an excellent horsewoman, who was far too athletic and fond of walking to like wearing high heels. She made her first major royal appearance at age 14, attending her parents' 1911 coronation in Westminster Abbey. When World War I broke out, Princess Mary threw herself into wartime service. She trained as a Red Cross nurse and regularly visited military hospitals, quietly tending to injured soldiers through her timidness to overcome shyness and serve on the wards. Most famously, in late 1914, Mary launched the Princess Mary Christmas Gift Fund, a public appeal, backed by royal patronage, to send every British soldier and sailor a small Christmas present. The result was an embossed brass gift box marked with her cipher, M.M, and profile. Each box contained tobacco, cigarettes, or chocolate, a photograph of the princess, and a Christmas card from the King and Queen. It was Mary's wish that every sailor afloat and every soldier at the front should receive the gift. The response was overwhelming. Over £162,000 was raised, equivalent to many millions today, and about 2.6 million boxes were ultimately distributed. These little tins became cherished keepsakes for veterans. Many repurposed the airtight brass boxes for money or mementos long after the war. Beyond the gift fund, Mary used her growing public profile to support other wartime causes. She visited army canteens and munition factories, carried out war bond drives, and helped boost morale by touring with her parents to the Western Front. Back home, she also encouraged women's wartime service and worked with organisations like the Voluntary Aid Detachments, VADs, and Women's Land Service. By the end of the war, Princess Mary had made it clear that a modern princess could actively share in national effort, a model she would continue in peace. After the war, Princess Mary entered her mid-20s with the expectation of marrying well and becoming a wife and mother. In 1921, she met Henry Lascelles, Viscount Lascelles, a 39-year-old soldier and racing enthusiast who was 15 years her senior. They discovered a shared love of horses and country sports, frequently attending hunts and the Grand National together. Their friendship deepened into love despite occasional gossip. In November 1921, Henry proposed at York Cottage, the King's country home. Queen Mary's diary records that Mary joyfully announced the engagement to her mother that evening, and both parents gave Harewood our blessing. Privately, even King Edward VIII, Mary's eldest brother, quipped that Lascelles was too old for her. "But he's rich and I hope to God he'll make her happy." Rumours later whispered that the proposal was a trick of a lost bet or an arranged match, but family archives and their own son's memoir make clear it was a happy partnership of equals. Princess Mary and Lord Harewood were engaged with genuine affection, not mere duty. Mary married Viscount Lascelles on 28 February 1922 at Westminster Abbey. The ceremony was a grand national event, the first wedding of a sovereign's child since the Middle Ages, and crowds lined the streets of London. As a modern touch, the bride wore a simple floral wreath instead of a crown, and her gown featured embroidered symbols of the British Empire. Among her 8 bridesmaids was Princess Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, future Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. With the wedding, Mary became Countess of Harewood and soon moved to Yorkshire. First, the couple lived at Goldsborough Hall, an Elizabethan manor nearby, and in 1930, Henry became the 6th Earl of Harewood, whereupon they took up residence at stately Harewood House. To the people of Yorkshire, she became known as their Yorkshire Princess, and the Countess embraced her new county home with pride. By all accounts, Mary and Henry's marriage was one of companionship and shared interests. They were often described as an ideal match. Both enjoyed horse racing and country life, and Mary even shared Henry's passion for rhododendrons in the gardens. The young Countess took a hands-on role at home. At Goldsborough, she had architect Sidney Kitson redesign the interiors for their children's needs and laid out formal hedge-bordered gardens at her south terrace. These gardens became a family project. In the 1920s, King George V and Queen Mary themselves planted the long avenue of lime trees at Goldsborough during visits. After moving to Harewood House, Mary oversaw major renovations and interior decoration of the family seat, ensuring it reflected both their tastes. Mary also threw herself into the practical side of estate life. She became an expert in cattle breeding, serving on the board of the Royal Agricultural Society, of which Henry had been president. Both she and Henry loved country sports. She rode with the Bramham Moor Hunt, of which he was master, and together they hosted annual house parties at Harewood for guests attending the York and Wetherby race meetings. The Countess set a tone of hospitality and solidity. She was rarely idle and held many household receptions for family and tenants alike. At the same time, Mary maintained her own public commitments. She continued leading causes she had championed as a princess. Notably, she remained closely tied to nursing and youth work. Her rigorous paediatric nursing training at Great Ormond Street, 1918, became a lifelong badge of honour. In Yorkshire, she engaged in social welfare. For example, during World War II, Harewood House was converted into a military convalescent hospital. Mary often visited to dance at nurses' dances and boost morale. To her soldier guests and staff at the hospital, she was simply the princess, frequently mingling and dancing with them on weekends. Even with 2 small sons at home, Mary took leadership roles. She remained honorary president of the Girl Guides, a post she had held since 1920, and sat on hospital and Red Cross committees. Mary and Henry had 2 sons, George and Gerald Lascelles. As a mother, Mary sought to combine royal tradition with country comfort. From the start, she involved family in the boys' upbringing. It was noted that each year during the 1920s, royal relatives, including King George V and Queen Mary, planted additional lime trees in the Goldsborough Gardens, watching the boys grow up among family mementos. She later oversaw a rich childhood at Harewood. The estate's countryside offered riding, hunting, and nature study, while Harewood House itself became a home filled with both regimental and artistic heritage. Mary was devoted to her children's welfare. She arranged early instruction and governesses much as she had had herself, and took pride in their achievements. Her eldest son George later recalled that his parents got on well together and had a lot of friends and interests in common, suggesting a warm family atmosphere. Daughter-in-law memories describe Mary as kind and quietly happy in her role whenever the family embarked on a new scheme together. Both boys were taught duty and service. George served in the RAF and Gerald in local civic roles. When wartime swept in, both young men joined the armed forces, yet Mary and Henry continued to host family dinners, parties and holidays at Harewood, maintaining many old English traditions in a relaxed country setting. Hunting trips, formal dinners in the painting gallery, and even children's birthday parties all followed a routine punctuated by family and estate life. To the public, Mary was the Princess Royal, a pioneering Victorian princess in a modern age. She seemed reserved but dignified, a model of duty. Newspapers praised her for organising hospitals and schools in Yorkshire. Society magazines dubbed her Yorkshire's princess and noted her business-like style. Behind this public face, however, her home life was quietly affectionate. Despite the 15-year gap, contemporaries insist Mary and Harry's marriage was not a cold arrangement. They enjoyed genuine companionship, sharing hobbies like gardening and art, and Mary was described as happiest when working alongside her husband on a project. Rumours of discord, for example a tabloid tale that Henry only proposed over a lost bet, had no basis in her personal correspondence or the recollections of friends. In fact, those who knew them shrugged off suggestions of an unhappy match. Their son George later noted that he never saw his parents disagree, and that both derived pleasure from joint social and cultural pursuits. Even the popular Downton Abbey film, which portrayed Princess Mary as reluctantly married, has been refuted by historians. Court records and Queen Mary's diary show she was pleased by the engagement and marriage. Away from cameras and press photographers, Mary's life at Harewood was private. She rarely gave personal interviews or sought publicity. Instead, she focused on family, estate, and charity. Unlike her brothers Edward VIII or George VI, there was no spectacular scandal or drama in her letters. True to her reputation for duty, Mary routinely wrote to each sibling and kept the family united through intimate communication. As Princess Royal, she witnessed historic events. Her favourite brother's abdication in 1936 was a heavy blow, but she dutifully supported whatever role was needed, even hosting the Duke of Windsor, Edward, at Harewood after his abdication. In private, she was said to have a gentle humour. One friend recalled Mary joking about having the last laugh by wearing her riding habit to official functions. Overall, her marriage and family life at Harewood combined royal protocol with genuine domestic warmth. Staff remembered the Countess as a kind mistress who took time to learn every servant's name. And holidays at the estate were simple and tradition-filled. In May 1947, Henry Lascelles died of a heart attack. Mary was utterly bereft. As Countess of Harewood, she never remarried, and she spent her widowhood preserving his memory. She famously refused to allow any redecoration of Harewood House that would change even an inch of Henry's handiwork, and continued to display his portrait prominently on her Christmas cards. The Dowager Countess remained at Harewood House, living with her elder son and his family, though in sorrow she did not withdraw from duty. In 1951, she accepted the post of Chancellor of the University of Leeds, the first woman to hold such a position, and appeared often at public ceremonies. She attended Queen Elizabeth II's coronation in 1953 and later represented the Crown at independence celebrations in Trinidad, 1962, and Zambia, 1964. Even into her 60s, Princess Mary took on war memorial dedications and international goodwill missions, advising younger royals on protocol. Princess Mary died on 28 March 1965, aged 67, of a heart attack during a walk on the Harewood estate with her son George and his children. She was buried beside her husband in the Lascelles family vault at All Saints' Church, Harewood. In death, she was remembered as the Princess Royal, who had lived quietly yet fully, a gracious link between Victorian times and the modern era. By the end of her life, 6 monarchs had reigned during her lifetime, and she remained one of the most unflappable and kind